Hello, back to this fancy blingy Christmas board with all those LEDs and stuff, and I spent some more time with the board and I was just playing around. I had this strange issue with this demo I was trying to launch and wasn't able to do so. And what I've found so far as well is that I can't play Nuvie files on this board, so there's certain behavior, so some aren't working at all, and some are producing some strange and weird effects, and sometimes they crash as well. And so I thought I spent some time investigating what's the reason for this, and I can show you this. So if you just launch a Nuvie file, it's just a short information screen. So it starts quite normally, and plays some sound as well. And then usually it won't take very long. You will see some strange artifacts popping into the screen. It's interesting that it is running right now. Well, let's see. We can find it in part where it's going to be the problem. I was just testing exactly this one a couple of minutes ago, and it wasn't working. And here we can see it. Okay, so it crashed. That's quite new as well. Then let's reset it and see when we can load it again. Another one. This one is without sound, but won't make such a huge difference. And my first idea was that probably one of the CRs, especially the one which is in control of the expansion port, has a glitch or something like this. But I started to read more about the Nuvie file format and how it works, and in general it copies just the information from the REU, the RAM expansion unit, which is emulated by the Ultimate 2 Plus and Ultimate 2 as well as by the Chameleon 64, and it copies the information into the video RAM. And there's one integrated circuit in particular who's responsible for managing data transfers and especially managing the address room, and this is the PLA. And I'm quite surprised to see that the phenomenon of having artifacts or crashing Nuvie videos isn't constant. So I was, as I said, I was testing this a couple of minutes ago, and I can show you another video where you can see the artifacts, and especially this video. I'm not sure if it's really linked to a particular video or if it's just maybe a temperature problem or a contact problem, something like this. Maybe just a socket is a little bit rotten. Anyway. Especially this video kept crashing and was showing artifacts quite constantly, and now it runs like a charm. So, well, it's quite surprising to see this. And I think what we can try, even if we do not have a bad example right now, but we can test it with a couple of different PLAs to see whether the effect returns or perhaps it's gone forever. So the interesting thing about the Nuvie format is that you can produce loops, so videos that run endless, so to say. And especially this Zoom video here is one of this kind. And there are a couple of other ones as well. And so maybe graphically that's not. Oh, now you can see it crashed again. And let's just try another one, which is graphically maybe a little bit more appealing. So what I'd liked was this one. Yes, and the interesting thing about this Nuvie format is that it is basically a kind of a slideshow. So there are a couple of pictures, as we can see, 768, which is the maximum you can squeeze into say 16 megabyte of the RAM expansion unit. If you exclude the sound, if you want to record the sound as well, which is oh, it crashed, okay, which is nothing else than the data pumped into the SID. So it is actually the SID who's playing the music, and but it is not like with a normal program that you feed the information by the program. So the information the SID receives is kind of recorded and stored in the RAM expansion unit, and it is streamed to the SID the same way as the graphics data is streamed to the VIC. And this makes this format quite versatile, and you can create loops, you can go forward and backward, or you can have a sequence of images and then you have a loop of image followed by a sequence of images and all that stuff. So it's pretty interesting, and you can use the high-res resolution of the Commodore C64 with, I say, almost all the colors available. So there are limitations, and it's probably a little bit too much for a video where we want to change the PLA. But it is a very, very interesting format. So the PLA is hidden below this heatsink, and I think to get access to it we need to remove this dual SID board, which is quite an easy task, as you can see. And the heatsink itself is quite a good idea. I mean, the PLA is probably not one of the ICs that run hot, but almost all the ICs on the older boards, they have their own working temperature, so to say. And if you just keep in mind, especially this board, it's from 1984, probably, because most of the ICs are from 1984, as far as I have seen it. Yes, it's, yeah. So it is 33 years old, and I think Commodore never had in mind that this stuff has to run as long as we are using it right now. So their main idea was to, well, come up with new products and sell new products, but unfortunately, and as we all know, it hasn't worked as well as it was supposed to be. So here we go, we got rid of one. So I have a couple of replacing PLAs, and one thing is using this Philips PLAs 100N ICs. They are programmed to act like an PLA, and they are pretty cheap. So if you look for a replacement on eBay or whatever, there are a couple of sellers, especially from the Asia area, where you can get those chips quite cheap. So they're usually around let's say $10 or €10 or something like this, whereas an original PLA comes usually around 25-30 euros or something like this if you're looking for a NOS, so new old stock. Used ones, especially ones that has been desoldered from older boards, are usually cheaper, but they're facing the same problem. I mean, they were used for quite a couple of years and they are old, and desoldering is not a very stressless action or activity, especially if you done it in a hurry, or if you do not have the right equipment. So let's put the dual sit board back and see whether this one is working, which is what I expect. So kind of cable is a little bit short here. So here we go. And we got our normal basic screen. Let's jump into our REU demo folder. And let's start with the fish. It was the one that crashed the fastest. So, as we can see, it is working, and what I found, especially while searching for this problem with the PLA, is that the Czech 64 cartridge was not able to detect the problem. So I ran through a couple of tests, so the dead test and the normal check 64 test, as well as the RAM check, because my first idea was that it's probably a RAM failure, but what was speaking against this is that we were able to run demos on it, and usually demos are requiring a lot of RAM, and if we have a faulty IC on the board, we would have seen a crash of a demo or something like this. And this brought me to the idea it must be something in between, that it is not used by demos, and which is sometimes working and sometimes not, and this is quite typical for PLA defects. So if you come along a board which is kind of working but not at all, or not in every aspect, then this would be my first candidate on those older boards. So 407, 425, 466. These are board types with the PLA. Oh, it crashed. Okay, so maybe we haven't found the real problem. Or we test another PLA. That could be an interesting thing as well. So let's see whether we can make some progress. And with the newer boards, the 469 board, the PLA has been replaced by a multi-purpose IC. So Commodore combined a couple of functions into one big chip on the board, and so the era of having PLA failures was kind of gone. And so let's see what we have. Somewhere is my big box with ICs. So we got one PLA replacement here, and then I think I got another one, just this one. So this is the so-called real PLA, developed by I think one guy from the Forum 64, and he's producing them at least. And if you need PLA replacements, this would be my first recommendation. It looks probably not as matching as the Philips one or so to this board, but it's not a visual aspect. I think it's actually the functionality we are looking for. Let's put this back. And okay, see what is going to show us. At least with all those LEDs flashing and blinking and just showing constant colors, the board is pretending to work. And actually it is working. So let's go to our fish pond, which appears to be a good test, as I think. So let's see how far we can get into this Nuvie file. Oh, not that far. Okay, so I'm probably wrong with the idea that the PLA is going to be the problem. Well, then there are a couple of different candidates. I think we can change the ultimate and see if this will happen with the other ultimate as well. Okay, we need a USB stick because the demos are on my USB stick. I was testing this Nuvie file quite a while ago, especially on the older Ultimate, the Ultimate 2 without the Plus, and it was terrible slow. It took a couple of minutes to load the movie into the RAM expansion. And what I did recently is a firmware update, and so I got the most recent version on it, and the loading of those Nuvie files, or it is basically the content of the RAM expansion unit, is much faster right now. So it is interesting to see that firmware update is making such a big difference. And I really appreciate as Gideon is still
working on both versions, so the older ones, and now we can see artifacts, and now we can see a garbled screen. So it is not the ultimate, so to say. Probably it's a different IC on the board. Okay, so this wasn't very successfully, so I think I need to spend more time trying to understand what's the issue on the board, and we'll probably have another video with maybe a solution or not. Thanks for watching, and as usual, if you're interested in receiving updates or something like this, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks.